Welcome to session 2 of exploring your exercises in AutoCAD for this year 2018. So I would like you to actually open up your practice exercises tab and look at coordinates and layers. And this is where two monitors will become quite handy, is where you can actually open your documentation or your PDF coordinates and layers exercise on your second monitor, and on your first monitor you can actually open up your AutoCAD interface and be able to operate and do the exercise in that, and then save it to your hard drive or your USB, whatever feels most comfortable. Excuse me. So that being said, you'll see that there is a download this file to start the exercise. Just click on that and it will immediately open up in your AutoCAD interface as a second file tab, and it should say their layers, coordinates and layers exercise. I've already got it open, as you can see here. For those that just want to practice the open file save part of AutoCAD, let's just go through that again. So you've got a couple of options. You can either save as here, so by clicking on this icon here, and that would immediately take you to prompt you where do you want to save it. Or we could actually go to the application menu, or I call it the big red A, do the drop down menu, go to save as. You wanting to save it as a drawing because that's what it is. It's prompting you as a read only because it is a template created specifically for this exercise, so that you do not alter it for other students to use. So you need to alter it yourself and change it to a drawing of your own. So save as drawing. Okay. Then it's prompting you to immediately go into saving it somewhere within a temporary file. What you can do is either do the drop down menu, and you can actually go into your personal PC hard drive wherever you have it at home, or I've got it as on my 8 gig external or USB, so I'm going to just click on that, and I've got it under TAFE SA, or I've created a folder that also says my subject here or course. So for those that are in CUAA CD 302, or for instance my other class that is 5071A. So you can always just click in there, or you can create a new folder, and the easiest way to create a new folder, so let's just use this pathway here. Let's go into 302 for instance, and if you click on this folder here with a little plus sign, you are creating a new folder, and you can type in there drawings and click on that, create another folder, or create another folder and call it practice exercises, exercises, and save your file in there. Alright, so that will be your pathway to this specific drawing save. Alright, and you can see that that would be at the top there. It's in my external USB hard drive E. There's the folder it's saved under, and there's the exercise. Okay, so you kind of know where to find it. It's always good to back it up either to your hard drive and to an external or a USB, and then you know that your work is backed up and safe. Remember what I said to you previously in the previous session. Try and get used to pressing save. Remember, you can change it so that you go into options and you can actually open and save. You can actually change that if you feel that you need a little bit more um, saving or more regular saving, so maybe make it 5 minutes. But generally, you'll actually see that every 10 minutes at the bottom it says there Q save, so quick save, or it's saving your drawing. So I'm going to just leave it at 10 because that's the default, and so I'll just leave that there. All right, but when you're drawing something and you're getting to be quite fast at doing a lot of commands and you wanting just to make sure that everything is saved correctly, just get into the habit of pressing the save button up here or QS in a shorthand version as a command. Okay, all right, so today's session we are going to be basically exploring a few more commands, and this will assist you with then moving forward into starting your task 1, which will be your floor plan. So it's good to always get into the habit of starting with your layers. So we'll be exploring coordinates and layers. So let's start with the layers first. But before that, you'll see that in this interface, so this is called the interface, you can actually see that there is now this interesting little drop-down menu here called Properties. All right. I'm just going to actually close that. So I've deleted it. That's kind of what the interface looked like when I discussed or introduced you to the interface in session 1. But for those that would like to, and it's good to get into the habit of it because it provides that extra information. Along here, remember this is called the ribbon, and these consist of panels. All right, so this is the draw panel, modify, annotation, layers, properties. This is what I had as a drop-down menu there. It's the properties, all about the line command that we are going to draw. So it's anything to do with identifying the layer and the line that you are drawing. So click on this little diagonal arrow, all right, and immediately it should just jump to the left hand side of your screen. You can either drag it, it's a bit tricky, but it keeps wanting to go to my interface, my model space. But basically, if you can get the edge, oh, very sensitive. There you go. You can either drag it outwards or you can shrink it. Okay. Basically, this is just telling you everything or all the vital information or properties about the line that you are drawing. Okay. So I'll get into that a little bit later. This is quite a nifty little function to introduce. Actually, one of my students in my face-to-face class showed me this, and that's what's great about working together, or even if you guys come across something that you find quite vital that you would like to share, please send me an email or let me know what you found out, and definitely I'll explore that and mention it in the next session. So that's what we're here for. We're all here to help one another, and there's many different functions and commands that AutoCAD presents, and we will be looking at or trying to look at all of them, but it's really for you to actually feel or choose the pathway that suits you best. as we are all individual and can't be taught as parrots. So, as I said to you, there's the save key there, and you can also save it in the drop down menu here. So there's many different commands that can be actually utilized to do the same function. So again, a repeat. If we look here in the layers, this is where we're going to be exploring. But a student of mine actually said to me that if I want to just quickly see what layer I'm in, I can actually place it here. So I'm just going to remove that there. If I unclick, you can see that that's just showing me my pathway of where I've saved my file. And he said to me, if you do the drop down menu, you can actually pick up that there is layer there. So if I click on layer, it takes this command line or block and it repeats it up here. So it's putting it next to your quick access toolbar. And that's great because you will be able to actually see what layer you're in 3 times. 1, 2, and in the properties here. All right. So enough of that said, let's click into layers and it will make sense further down the session. All right. So as you can see, if I hover my cursor over that layers properties button, you can actually see there it says there manages layers and layer properties. So click on it. Let's left click. Oh, you've got to double click, sorry. All right, you can actually see there's a green arrow and it says here it's prompting you with a layer. So you can actually see here that it says name, it says color, line weight, line type, line weight, etc. All right. This is where you're going to be creating many different layers that represent different lines for creating creating a plan. So as you know, I'm sure you've come across plans where you'll see that in the plan it has the actual physical features of a building, such as walls, and then it has like a floor layout. It also has electrical layout. It might even have a plumbing layout, etc., etc., a roofing layout. Now, those all are actually drawn, or majority of those drawings are drawn in a program such as AutoCAD, and each of those are represented by a layer that is identified with a line weight or line thickness. So when we print it out in grayscale, you'll see that each line can be really, really thin or faint or dotted or dashed or dot dashed, or it can even be thicker in some lines and really thin in other lines. So that's where this is where it is created, and that then is imported or actually plotted. So another name for print into a paper space or onto a piece of paper, being A1, A0, A3 drawing, and this is where it starts. Okay. So if you go to your little, it looks like a little explosion there, if you click on that, that means new, so a new layer. Okay, so let's click there and it says layer 1. All right, so in your exercise you'll see in your notes we are going to be creating a polygon 1, a polygon 2, polar tracking and direct distance. So let's start with polygon 1. All right. Oh, I'm in capital letters. Polygon 1. If you want it in capital letters, that's totally fine. It's really up to you how you feel. There's no specific way of writing Polygon 1. All right, click on the color. And what does Polygon 1 say? Oh, it's white, so we're going to keep it white. Okay, we're going to create another layer. So go to your little explosion with the layers there, and we're going to say Polygon 2. All right, and we're going to click on the color chart there, and we're going to choose the color green. All right, so these are your standard colors here. Okay, and then you can pick it and or select it, and it's green. Then you create another layer, and you call that polar tracking. Okay, you click on the green or color box, and you choose yellow. And again, direct distance. Okay, and you're going to choose red. Okay, now you can actually see that you've now developed some layers, or a group of layers that are represented with colors, and the lines currently are all the same. But if you wanted to change that layer or line type, you click on line continuous, as you can see there. You load, and you can choose a either dashed line or a dot dash. It's really up to you. All right, and you would then press OK, and it's now prompting that I haven't chosen anything, which is fine because I don't want to. And for now, I'm going to just say cancel. Okay. All right. So you can go OK. Now, you can actually see that's highlighted in a lighter gray because that's, or the blue is active. Okay. If I want to choose my layer that's current, current means that I am going to be drawing in that current layer. Okay, so say for instance I want to choose Polygon 2. I can click on this icon here. So set current. The short or your keyboard action for that is Alt and C. And with that, now Polygon 2, if I start drawing with a line command, I'll be drawing in green. Okay, so close that box. To close that box, you close it over there. All right. So if I choose my line tool in my draw panel, okay, you can actually see that if I move my cursor around, it's now, I've got the drawing aid in the status bar. These are the drawing aids down here. We will be exploring that in later on in the session. But if I toggle over that, you can actually see I've selected it to be on, which is blue, and that says dynamic input. Dynamic input means that I have hairlines next to the cursor, and that is telling me to either provide a command or to add in a coordinate. All right. If I switch it off, I can move it around. If I choose line, you can actually see there's no hairlines or prompts next to it. And what I'll have to follow then is the command, which is down here. Okay. So I personally like to have my hairlines next to my cursor. So I'm putting dynamic input on. Okay. So if I draw a line, any line, you'll see that I am drawing in my layer Polygon 2. All right. I'm just going to escape that to end the command. If I feel that, oh, that was the wrong layer that I needed to select, all right, so I select that. I'd literally just drop down my, it's like a quick access bar, drop down in my layers, and I decide that it needs to be direct distance layer. And you can actually see the line changes from green to red, or it should be polar tracking. And I can change the properties now of that line, which then will be displayed in my properties drop down box over here. Okay. Alright, so of course I still want to just keep it as it is. I've made a mistake, just say, and I just keep going back. And of course it's picked up on my last command, so it will recognize that I have selected that because I've chosen that, even though I'm still in polygon 2 here. So I literally just select that, go back to polygon 2 and enter, and it's back. Okay. Right. So we're just gonna delete that. Okay. So to delete something, you drag something from the top right box and you drag it down to the bottom left corner, and it selects the items, and then you can actually tell its next command, which is then to erase it. Okay, perfect. All right, we are going to explore now to draw or how to give distance to a line. And this you'll find quite useful because there's an exercise at the end of this the notes provided for coordinates and layers exercise, and we are going to start that off so that you are all on the same track and be able to complete your 3 examples for you to complete for coordinates and layers. Okay. So as you can see, I'm in a blank space here. All right. If I go down to my status bar and I click on the grid, I've toggled it to be on, so it turns blue. You can see that a watermark grid appears in the background. Okay, I think I chatted to you about this in the first session, but if I do the drop down menu and I go to snap settings, you'll see that the snap and grid appears here. So you can actually change the blocks to what you feel comfortable with. I'm just keeping it as 10 and 10. So grid X spacing, grid Y spacing, okay, and major line every 5 lines. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks going to the right, and going up or down there's another 5 blocks. So there's a major line on every 5th, so that represents the grid. Okay, so I'm going to just close that. Okay, and you'll see now a green and a red line appear. All right, the red line represents everything going left or right on the x-axis, and going green up or down is the y-axis, and that's what we are exploring. We're exploring the Cartesian axes, and that is in terms of x and y. We are not exploring z because we are not doing any 3D or exploring any 3D drawing. Okay, so if I'm wanting to start a point, this is actually where the red and the green line meet. It's telling me that that is the start of 0, 0. Okay, and if you look, wherever I move my cursor, it's telling me the coordinates there on this infinity or model space or black space to draw. Okay, so if I'm looking for 0.0, I would have to type in first my x coordinate, which is 0. I always have to place a comma to kind of complete what I've just said, and then put in my y coordinate, which is 0. So if I choose line, you've always, in order for you to complete something here, because if I just click and I do that, I get like a blue box going that direction, and then I get a green box going that direction, which is it means nothing. You can't do anything with it. You've got to be able to choose a command. So if I, just to keep things simple, let's just choose the command or function key line, because I want to draw a line. So it's saying there now, what do you want to do with this line? It says specify first point. So we want to start at, if you look in your notes and we go to, it actually says let's start in polygon 1. So let's do that. Drop down menu, polygon 1. Perfect. Choose line command. We're going to be drawing in white. So polygon 1 is a white line. All right. Then we are going to start by our coordinate. I just wanted to show you that if I go right over here somewhere and I type in 0, 0, enter, you can actually see I've got an elastic band, and my first point has started at where the X and the Y, or the red and the green line meet. Okay, so you don't have to do that. You can actually start here. You can actually start here, 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 there, here. Anyway, you can start anywhere. All right, but just to keep in line with what your they're asking you to start with an absolute coordinate, so it's a starting point, and they're wanting you to start at the coordinates 73 in the x-axis and 38 in the y. So that means that from 0, 0, it is 73 going to your right, and then up by in the y direction, because it's positive, being 38. All right, so I just want to draw quickly something. Let's just put that on there. All right, I've drawn a little cross just to keep things simple. Anything going in this direction to your right, so if I pull a line going there, you can see that any direction going that way is seen as positive x. All right, anything going up is seen as positive y, because it's going upwards. Anything going backwards or to the left is seen as negative x. Anything going to the bottom, if you're drawing a line downwards, is going in the negative y axes. All right, and that just kind of helps with how to orientate yourself or move your cursor in the right direction to create your lines. Okay, so you'll understand when we start doing or practicing drawing lines. Okay, so it's saying that we need to choose the absolute coordinates of 73 x and 38 y. So it should be somewhere around here. Okay, so let's type that in. We're going to start with the line command. Select line, bring your cursor back, all right, and start typing the x coordinate being 73. All right, you can see that 73 appears in the white box next to specify first point if you have your dynamic input on. If not, it would show in this part down here. Okay, so I push comma, all right, followed by a comma, and it's now prompting me to say what my y value is, which is in the blue highlighted area there, and that is going to be 38. All right, and you always, to end the command, to move on to the next command, you press enter. All right, I do have my author on, so I'm going to switch that off. So now I've got the elastic band again. I can move in any direction. Okay, so if you follow your notes, you'll see it says now you'll be able to type in at 250 for the x distance, follow this with a comma. This will change the input to relative Cartesian. Okay, the at symbol always precedes the units. Type the 0 for the y-axis, hit enter to complete. So let's do that. So if you pull up, what I find what is quite easy is that just print, for the external students, print out the 3 exercises you need to complete that is found on the last 3 pages of the PDF. Okay, print those out, and then you've got that down. You've got your notes either next to you, printed out on the second monitor, and then your screen is up. Okay, so you've got an elastic line, and we're going to go along now and type in, if we do the at sign, we're giving it a distance to move in the x direction, which is in the right side, which is seen as positive. So at 250, and we're not, because it's 0, because if you look at when I drew that cross, it looks at angles. So 0 is, and it goes in an anti-clockwise direction. So 0 is seen as positive x, 90 degrees is seen as positive y, 180 is seen as negative x, and 270 is seen as negative y, and then it goes to complete the circle back to 360. Okay, so if I'm giving the at sign at 250, and you can actually see there's a little angle sign there, or like a 1. So what it's actually saying to me, it's prompting me to say at what angle. So if you look on your keypad of your computer, you'll see that there is a Pac-Man or a greater than sign, which is next to the capital M on your keypad. So press Shift greater than and give the angle, which is 0. Enter. And there we go. I've moved my line from my start point, which was my coordinates of 73,38, and I have drawn my first line of my drawing A, which is 250 millimeters, and it's now asking me to do the next line. So you'll see that it's provided you with an angle there of 135 on the inside. To get that angle, you can do 2 ways. You can actually prompt it by saying at again, giving it a length, so use the at button before the unit, so at 60, and to create a that angle to go in a at an angle of, it's actually at an angle of 45, because 180 minus 135 is 45. So you then type in at angle of 45. So I'll just do that for you. At 60. All right. Let's just move this over a bit. Okay. at 60, angle of 45. Enter. All right, there we go. And then you can either go up by putting on your ortho, because that only allows you to go in 45-degree angles. Okay, so I just push my cursor upwards, and I can either just type in blue, which is my hairline there, just saying 75. Enter. Okay. All right. So did everyone see that? All right. So I've just undone everything. Just to start that again, because there's another version I'd like to show you. If you feel that you have gone too far back, okay, so I'm going to do that again. So that is 73,38. Enter. All right, go along by 250. Enter. All right. The other option to do, as you can see, I'm restricting myself to 45-degree angles, okay? Because I've chosen my dynamic input, not dynamic input, my drawing aids are down here in the status bar. I can either choose polar tracking or I can choose ortho, all right? Because I've chosen ortho to go in 145 degrees, that's the only way it can allow that cursor to move without me actually putting in an angle, physically putting in a distance. So at 60 degrees at an angle of 45, all right? What I can do is I can choose polar tracking now. And if you just click on this little arrow next to it, you'll see that 9180 to 7360 is chosen as the tracking for angles. So you'll see that if I choose 45 now, because that's where I want to draw, and I run it along, so there's 0 in the little gray box on the x-axis of my cursor. If I move that up, you'll see it will start picking up a green vector line, because that means that I've typed in to track it at every 45 degrees, all right, and so forth. So if I move along, 90, 135, and so forth. Okay, so I can actually drag my cursor now, lock it in, pull it there, and just type in the distance of 60. And there we go. So as I mentioned to you right in the beginning of the session, there's many ways that you can actually do one command. It's just finding the best way that suits you. All right. So that's the thing. We're just exploring different commands. Okay, excellent. All right, so again, it's tracking that again upwards. So we can either just, the quickest way is just to drag it up and then type in 75, and I've locked that line in, and you can carry on then with that drawing to be able to complete it. Okay, so that just is the start of that drawing. Some of you might also get stuck with the zooming in and out. Remember, just move your scroll ball on your mouse. Upwards zooms in, pushing it backwards zooms out. All right. Pan means you just push the scroll down and hold it in, and you can move it around. Okay. You've also got your navigation toolbar here of pan. Click, and then that just moves it around. Or you can go to your zoom and zoom extend. It zooms it right up and into that space of it outlines where you have drawn. As you can see, it's right on the edge here. If that is a bit too much for you, you can zoom all, and that brings it just in the correct location of the space of where you're drawing. Okay. So that is covering how to start your drawing, or to start drawing a line using coordinates and layers. And for now, just use the line command. You can either click on the icon, you can also just hover it over here and type in the word L for line, and line will come up. Okay, you can click on that, and now you've got your command to draw. Okay, there we go. Hope that helps. Enjoy.